So you got.
I wouldn't really touch on any conversations that I had with other teams, just respectfully. I don't think that's appropriate just for current and future business, but it's irrelevant to this situation because we're not interested in moving Myles.
Yeah, the question is, who would call with Myles Garrett? How about everybody? I mean, there's probably 6 teams that wouldn't. Philadelphia's loaded. They're going to call.
So is this him being firm, we're not trading him, or is this trying to gin up the price, get a bidding war going, hey, we're not trading him, sorry. All right, well, what about, I can't imagine 2 firsts for a guy that's this age with this many injuries, Colin.
Oh, boy.
He's not a spring chicken, as they say.
He's still unbelievably dominant. I think his body wears well over time. I really would have no problem. And I don't think I would say this about any defensive player since Aaron Donald. I would strongly consider, again, if I was a late first-round team like Buffalo, when I'm going to be drafting late in the first round, I would give up 2 firsts if I was the Buffalo Bills or Green Bay Packers, because I'm drafting in no man's land anyway. No man's land in the NFL is drafting 20th down, because you're out of first-round players, even in a good draft, by about 17 or 18. This year's got about 12. So no man's land, if you're the Buffalo Bills or Green Bay Packers, you're drafting at 25, 27. I would absolutely give up 2 firsts for Myles Garrett. Absolutely. Dude, he will change. If you told me today, let's just take Green Bay. Green Bay has not had a consistent pass rush in forever.
Yeah, but they have needs. Their offensive line was spotty this year.
It's called the draft. They don't have.
You just said you're giving up 2 firsts.
No, but they have a history, the Packers do, of nailing 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th rounders for the offensive line.
I mean, so you're a gambler, huh? You like to push all your chips in the middle of the table.
If I'm the Titans and I'm drafting top of the first, I'm not giving away 2 firsts. But once you're a well-run machine, Kansas City, you're drafting 30th every year.
Kansas City's got some needs. I don't think that. I think your Eagles argument's the best. Hey, we've got a loaded roster. We don't have to pay anybody yet. We can give up maybe 2 firsts for Myles Garrett, and oh my gosh, that is a terrifying defensive line. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think people, I hear the New York Giants, they don't want to give up that first-round pick for Matt Stafford. Well, it is a number 3 pick, and if the Rams got that pick, they would. I don't think they would draft a quarterback. I think they would keep going down, go get Aaron Rodgers, and just fortify their roster. But when you're a good team, those first-round picks, last year the Niners are picking like Ricky Pearsall, and 5 minutes after the draft, people are like, yeah, he can't separate. I mean, that's what you
haters.
Okay. Well, listen, I don't think no matter who you are, no matter where you're drafting, you can just downplay the importance of a first round pick. That's just kind of absurd. I get what he's saying. I do. I think it's a little bit too simplistic, quite frankly, but I don't see the problem either. If you already are a great team, where it has the potential to like really be a massive boost. You are essentially giving up a first round pick or multiple first round picks to get that immediate impact player right now. So I get it. I think it all depends on the situation itself, which is why it does make sense for the Eagles, because you are in a position where it's like, hey, you know what? We have this 3-4 year window where like Devontae should still be in his prime, AJ, Saquon, you're gonna have to slowly start replacing that O-line. Like Lane Johnson's gonna be gone sooner rather than later. You have this window, and obviously you want to keep extending. And it's one of those things where football, especially if you're a great team, it's very much kind of like where you're trying to cross a bridge. But like you take a piece of wood from behind you and you put it in front of you and you take a step forward, and then you take the other piece of wood behind you, take a step forward. And, you're always trying to kind of keep going forward in that regard. And so for the Eagles, getting someone like a Myles Garrett would make sense because of their best time to win Super Bowls is going to be these next 2-3 years, right? Like that's just kind of a fact. Now again, to downplay the impact that a draft can have, also immediately just look no further than Mitchell, Jalen Carter, Cooper DeJean, etc. So, that's where you kind of have to have the trust in your scouts and your GM and the front office as a whole, in terms of like, hey, is there someone else in the draft that we could actually just get? You know, can we get essentially someone that can give us 85% of a Myles Garrett or whatever, which again is obviously easier said than done. Or is it just kind of like, you know what, we're willing to mortgage this right now because even the needs that we have, we don't need to get the 30th pick of the draft. You know, again, and if all goes to plan, we should be drafting dead last because we're just going to win Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. But it's tough, though. It is tough. And, you know, the biggest risk with football, of course, is also always injuries. Because I know so many people are going to be like, oh, you know, if Philadelphia Eagles get Myles Garrett, this D-line will be amazing, et cetera, et cetera. And it's true. But it's just like injuries are always right around the corner, man. And then you make these huge moves. And that's the problem with an older player like this, where even if Jalen Carter gets injured, anyone that just kind of minimizes the impact of a move like this, because again, this move is made for this coming season and the season after, and probably technically the season after that. But definitely conservatively these next 2 years. And if injuries in any position kind of derail the potency, it makes that choice then, the pain is actually even more. Because now what you gave up was not even close to the reward, and you weren't able to even utilize it in the way that you had hoped. Kind of like bringing Aaron Rodgers in and having him get injured. It's like, that actually hurts them so much more than if he was able to just play and it just didn't work out. So that's what always, you know, some of these moves, it would be one thing if Myles Garrett was like younger, 26, and the window then was just longer, where you could actually have the time to struggle, deal with injuries, have one of those seasons where just things are just not going your way, and then the next year or the year after kind of re-up and get yourself, you know, going, and then now taking advantage of the talents of Myles Garrett. But I don't see that. I see this as a short window. And again, I'm not saying that the Eagles have a short window, because like I said, that's why I use the example of taking the wood from behind you, putting it a step. So it's unpredictable. But in terms of what we know this team to be right now, with the guys that we truly know who they are, we know their names, we know they exist, we know they're Philadelphia Eagles, it's like you're looking realistically at this 2-year win. A.J. Brown should not fall off a cliff. Devontae, you know, Mailata, Juergens, you know, any of these main guys, Saquon Barkley, you know, he's probably the biggest question mark because you just don't know with a running back. You're expecting some like high level ball from these guys, from the main people that we know in 2 years. And again, that's not counting any of these random injuries. I mean, heck, Nakobe Dean, bam, you know, knee injury. You know, you just never know. And so conservatively, you're looking at this for 2 years. So then that's when you have to kind of do the math and think about, okay, what will we need in 2 years? Even if we win the Super Bowl, if we win the next 2 Super Bowls, what will we need? You know, you start to add the math. Okay, this player is going to be this player is going to be this age, that age. You know, it's a lot of figuring out kind of short term versus long term. What will you need? What don't you need? The things that you do need, where can you typically get them within the draft, free agency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the biggest thing that the Eagles would have going for them is that you go out and get a Myles Garrett, and the amount of juice and energy and getting a player like a Myles Garrett, who's obviously hungry and desperately wants to win, that continues to now re-up that thirst and that fight. We know Devontae wants to win again. We know Jalen wants to win. We know Howie wants to win again. AJ, we know so many of those guys want to win. But there's definitely going to be a handful of players that don't have that same level of angst and energy. It's just impossible. You're just not going to have the full roster of them all just be, you know, just wanting to win ring after ring after ring. It's just the human nature of how football teams are run. But you add such a big, massive person like Myles Garrett, that's going to hold a lot of weight and a lot of energy and a lot of fight, and that'll keep that defense going. And you know, and that is the benefit when you have a hungry person like a Cooper, Gene Mitchell, etc. Because now they're going to be like, bro, we just wanted to be getting like, we want to keep doing this. We want to go down in history as being the best to ever do it. There's like a ton of that motivation to kind of keep this going. Balances out the defense, and yeah, man, you know, who knows? But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles potentially getting Myles Garrett? And do you think the GM from the Browns is kind of just trying to boost up the price, because it sounds to me that Myles Garrett has zero interest in sticking around, even if they get, considering how popular Caleb Williams was last year, and obviously if we had no idea what Caleb Williams was going to be, it's hard to imagine that even if they had the draft to be able to draft Caleb Williams, that Myles Garrett would still want to stick around. It seems like he just wants to go to a team, an organization where he knows without a shadow of a doubt, this franchise is going to put me in a position to win. So it seems like he's out. But what do you guys all think? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.